Check it out, check it out. Come equipped with another till you'll never be no doubt. Yo, check it out, check it out. You never see me unprepared, so check it out. Check it out, check it out. Come equipped with another till you'll never be no doubt, y'all. Check it out. You never see me unprepared, so check it out. Yo, check it out. Come equipped with another till you'll never be no doubt. Yo, check it out. You never
Stand-up paddleboarding, or SUP, has grown in popularity in California, where the abundance of diverse waterways and temperate climates make it an easily accessible sporting activity for people of all ages and abilities. Today, we are going to Dana Point, California to join Laura, Nick, and our instructor Diane Winsel as they demonstrate safe paddling skills, navigation knowledge, surf zone etiquette, and rescue techniques. Diane is an experienced sailor, racer, and instructor. She is also an advisory board member for the World Paddling Association.
Stand-up paddleboarding, or SUP as it's more commonly called, came to California from Hawaiian and Polynesian culture. The SUP boards are typically wider, longer, and have more volume than traditional surfboards, making SUP accessible to almost everyone. Boating enthusiasts use SUP boards on California's lakes, rivers, and miles of California coastline. With so many new paddlers out on the water, it's important to know safety and right-of-way rules. In this California AquaSmart Safe Boating video, we will cover paddleboard safety, personal safety, water safety, and weather safety. So if you're ready, let's go. In 2008, the United States Coast Guard responded to boating safety concerns and classified stand-up paddleboards as vessels, just like kayaks and canoes. In California, that means stand-up paddleboarders are required to carry a life jacket, some means of making an efficient sound signal, such as a whistle. And if operating at night, you need to have an all-around white light in order to let other boaters know you're around. Stand-up paddleboarders are also required to know and follow navigation rules. We'll cover those rules later in this video. Before you go on the water, we want to make sure that your equipment is safe and ready to go. Check your board. It should be free of cracks and leaks. Your board will have a fin at the tail. It's held in place with a fin screw. Make sure that those are snug and in place. The board will have a leash to keep you near the board should you fall off. This is held in place with a leash string. Make sure that string is tied or you'll lose your leash. To keep you from sliding, you should have some sort of a decking or deck pad. This board has a deck pad. Make sure that it's not slippery from oils or sunscreen, and it shouldn't be peeling or have any tears. If your board has a vent plug, it'll be near the bow of the board. Make sure that that vent plug is snug and in place as well. Lastly, take a look at your paddle. The blade of your paddle and shaft should be free of cracks, and the grip should be snug and in place. Now that we know our equipment is safe, we need to think about personal safety. Life jackets are a required piece of equipment for stand-up paddleboarding. Laura is holding a Type 1. That's an offshore life jacket. Nick is holding a Type 2, nearshore life jacket. He's wearing a Type 3. Life jackets are required to be worn by anyone under 13 years. Laura and I are wearing a Type 5. This is an alternative to the Type 3 life jacket, and it's approved for people 16 years and older. The Type 5 provides for maximum maneuverability while stand-up paddleboarding. It inflates by pulling on the tab, and there's a CO2 cartridge inside the life jacket. All life jackets need to be fit snugly so that if you're to go in the water, it'll stay on your body. If I were to pull up on Nick's life jacket, it's going to stay snug on his body and not ride up. That's perfect. Other items for personal safety include appropriate clothing, such as non-cotton wicking fabric or a wetsuit. And foot protection is always important to think about. Additional equipment for extreme conditions include a helmet and a special paddleboard leash for whitewater rivers or swift water. A dry suit is also important for extremely cold water, and always think about tow lines or a spare paddle if you're going to be doing some touring. Laura and I are going to show you how to inflate a Type 5 life jacket. Laura, ready to go?
Ready? Oh,
Yoo-hoo! All right, here I go.
turn.
You can always use this tube if it doesn't inflate all the way for you.
Remember these life jacket safety tips. Everyone under 13 years old must wear a life jacket. For everyone over 13, there must be one life jacket per person readily available. Always check the life jacket label for U.S. Coast Guard approval. Also, make sure that the life jacket is appropriate for the person wearing it and for the type of activity.
Now that our inflatable life jackets have been rearmed, we're ready to talk about additional personal safety equipment before we go out on the water. Laura's wearing a hat for sun protection and sunglasses. It's a good idea to consider a leash for your sunglasses, so if you go in the water, they'll stay with you. Hydration is key for stand-up paddleboarding, and Laura's wearing a backpack-style hydration pack. Sunscreen is also key. Because this is a board sport, it's important to wear full-spectrum waterproof sunscreen. And lastly, Laura's wearing a dry bag. In her dry bag, she's got some first aid supplies. These dry bags can also be used for charts and a cell phone.
It's a good idea to carry these additional safety items: sun protection, hydration, skin protection, and a dry bag for first aid supplies, charts, and/or a cell phone.
Now that we've discussed paddleboard safety and personal safety, it's time to think about water safety. Always know the body of water you'll be paddling on. Know its rules and the hazards. If you're not sure, check with the locals and get the conditions before you go out paddleboarding. Weather safety is also a concern. Stand-up paddleboarding is a high-profile activity, so wind direction, and water current have a huge effect on your paddleboarding success.
Remember these water and weather safety tips. You should know the local rules, water hazards, and conditions of the body of water you are paddling on, and be aware of conditions such as wind direction and water currents.
Stand-up paddleboards are the newest type of vessels to cruise California's waterways. Following the navigation rules on the water are much like following the rules of the road on a highway. They provide a system to avoid collisions when boats, including stand-up paddleboards, meet in a head-on situation, are crossing each other, or when passing. Today, we're going to demonstrate how to safely launch and return, how to safely navigate in a crowded waterway, and proper use of the right-of-way rules when in the surf zone. When launching or returning from a dock or a beach, it's always best to paddle on your knees. When paddling in a crowded waterway, be alert. Be sure you have a clear path before crossing a channel and maintain your course and speed. If you experience wake or chop, use a brace, paddle on your knees, or lie down to maintain your balance. And when approaching a blind corner, channel, or fairway, stay visible. Travel with the flow of traffic or hug the shoreline. Safe navigation in the surf zone requires knowledge of right-of-way or surf etiquette. Always paddle 90 degrees to the wave and brace yourself. Paddle standing, kneeling, or lying down. Never have the board between you and the oncoming waves. Never paddle out directly in front of, behind another paddler, surfer, or swimmer. Paddle out towards the peak of a wave, away from the anticipated direction of the surfer catching the wave. When taking off on a wave, the surfer at the peak has the right of way. Be sure your leash is tethered to your leg and never wrap it around your hands or fingers.
When you launch and return, be alert for other water traffic and make sure that you have a clear path before crossing a channel. When navigating out on the water, maintain your course and speed. In wakes or chop, use your paddle as a brace. Paddle on your knees or lay down on the board to maintain your balance. Stay visible when approaching a bend or a blind curve, and always travel with the flow of traffic or hug the shoreline. Remember, in the surf zone, follow surf etiquette. Paddle 90 degrees to the waves. To maintain your balance when paddling in the surf zone, consider kneeling or laying down on the board. When off the board in the surf zone, never have the board between you and the oncoming waves. Never paddle directly in front of or behind another paddler, surfer, or swimmer. Rules of right-of-way in the surf zone are: paddle toward the peak of a wave and away from the anticipated direction of another paddler or surfer who is catching the wave. When taking off on a wave, the surfer at the peak has the right-of-way.
When stand-up paddlers lose their balance and fall into the water, getting back on the board, sometimes called a rescue, varies on the weather, the traffic, and other conditions. Rescues can be made alone or with a buddy. We will show examples of doing rescues in calm water, in crowded waterways, and in the surf zone. To perform a calm water rescue, get to the board first, then recover the paddle. Don't try to swim with the paddle. Climb onto the board, over the side, or the tail. You can do a calm water rescue alone or with a buddy. It isn't a good idea to leave the board and swim to shore. Surf zone rescues are similar to calm water rescues. Get to the board first, then recover the paddle. Climb onto the board over the side or the tail. Don't try to swim with the paddle. If you go underwater, be sure to protect your head when surfacing. And always stay between the board and the waves. To perform a wind and weather rescue, paddle on your knees or lie down and hand paddle. A tow line or leash can be used for an assisted rescue.
In a calm water rescue, get to the board first, then go after the paddle. Climb onto the board from the side or over the tail. In calm water, you can do a self-rescue or you can work with a buddy. During a surf zone rescue, protect your head when surfacing after a fall and always stay between the board and the waves. Make sure your leash is tethered to your leg. Do not wrap the leash around your hands. Never hold the board from the leash connection. And remember, it isn't a good idea to leave the board and swim to shore. In the case of a wind and weather rescue, paddle on your knees or lie down when approaching a downed paddler, and use a line or leash to tow a stranded paddler.
I hope you had fun today learning how to stand up paddleboard safely. But there's still a lot to learn. So consider taking a boating safety course. You can find one at your local aquatic center or go online